the purpose of this course is really to build a lot of the structure that you're talking about, is to kind of create systems that mimic, the support that I get at the temple, just the schedule, the daily focus on my higher priorities, my higher intentions. So I'll walk through the course so you kind of get an idea of what to expect. And I need to make sure to mention Mr. Mike Duffy. So Mike, my area of expertise is that I've lived at the temple and worked closely with Mickey for 33 years. And Mike is an actual, I don't want to use the word instructional designer, but he has led learning management for major companies, $5 billion companies. So he knows how to make things really practical, and he's been really, we've really teamed up on this to keep things very practical and to come from a business orientation. And that's not hard for me because I have worked my whole life. I've run big departments and I've had, big budgets and done things. But Michael is really focused on how to sort of make this really accessible. So I just want to express my gratitude for that. So we're going to have 6 weeks. In each course, each week is going to be about an hour long. In the first week, we're going to do an introduction to the course, and Mike is going to administer something that he calls his wisdom diagnostic. And really, it's a way to look at your base happiness and where you're finding satisfaction and what's unsatisfying. And it's a way to kind of identify what's working and what's not working. And maybe you're doing great financially, but your marriage isn't whatever. So it'll look at all that and it'll be sort of establish a starting point. The next step in week 2 that we'll review the results of the wisdom diagnostic, and we're going to do something that I think is really interesting. It's a Japanese concept called ikigai. And it's a way to kind of step away from your life as it is right now and find what's really important to you. The word ikigai, or the concept of ikigai in Japanese, is what brings purpose to your day, what gets you up in the morning. And we're going to answer the questions: what am I good at? What do I love? What does the world need? And what can I do to make money in this world? And it's less about changing any specific paths that you might be on, but that knowledge of where your deepest intention lies is really useful just to see and work with. And we've all been given the gift of a career that perhaps wasn't our intended career. I studied photojournalism, and pretty shortly I was running websites and doing other things. But this is a way to kind of settle that out and gain knowledge about yourself. We're going to do that in a public or in a group setting, so that we have the ability to discuss these things. And what I'm finding, because I'm actually doing this very same practice in prison, believe it or not. And it's really useful for people to get a sort of step back look at themselves and see what's sort of happening in their lives and where they'd like to go. So week 3, North Star intentions. And we've talked about those briefly, but those are the highest spiritual values that you have. And those will be combined with some of the ikigai information that you get to create that daily focus on what's most important to you. And this really comes from a lot of traditions. And as I was studying Buddhism, Buddhism has a really strict set of practices that they wrap around their morning worship. And it's all about repeating intentions. And when we set our North Star intentions, we're establishing that which we will be repeating on a daily basis as the pole star or North Star values of our life. Those are our North Star intentions. And like I said, we'll be combining those with the Ikigai to kind of create this master document of what your life's purpose is. Another way of looking at this is, who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? And a lot of we've talked about sort of the habit structure of our worlds, and, habits don't change as easily or as productively when we set still goals, like when we set sort of milestones where we want to be. Say we want to weigh a certain weight by a certain date, or have a certain amount of money by a certain date. What really works is when you set this vision of who you want to be. And what we'll be using the North Star intentions is to use spiritual values for who you really are already, like the highest version of yourself, and how we peel away the blockages to that so that we can get to those places. that's something that Mickey refers to constantly. Like, what's your highest intention for yourself, and who are you really? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? So that's how we're going to kind of set that. So that puts us halfway through the class. Do you have any questions before I sort of jump through the second 3 weeks, the second set of 3 week period?
Go for it, brother.
Okay, I'll keep going. I see you nodding and smiling, so I'll just take that as acceptance. So in week 4, we're going to talk about the intention process in real time, right? And I've got kind of a conceit that I'm following here, which is that we've got a learning, an exercise, and a product. And the learning for week 4 is an intention setting creates a kind of muscle memory for dealing with the unexpected high stakes, high pressure situations. And the exercise that we will review recent difficult work and family experiences and talk about how you felt you could have done better. And within that framework, we will develop a 3 to 5 set list of interactions, meeting responsibilities that we typically don't do well or would dread, and we're going to create intentions around those that will carry with us throughout our day. So we're looking at being just, and this is a Mike Duffy thing, dramatically productive and practical with how we set these exercises. We're going to do this in a group setting, and we'll all have a chance to talk about the stuff that pushes our buttons. And I really love week 4 because this is the stuff that I've been doing with my inmates for close to 2 years now. And this is where that space gets created between stimulus and response. This is where we start to, and those intentions become, the muscle memory resorts to the intention instead of the ability, the ego. Intentions are sort of the place you go instead of your ego to find inspiration for how to work through situations, to how to actually face difficult situations with creativity and clarity. You've had that thing where, like, you go through some difficult thing, somebody says something to you, and, like, the rest of the day you're going, I wish I'd said this, or if I'd only said this.
Yes.
We're trying to create.
Happens to us all.
And at the bottom line, like, if you look at the whole sort of range of goals and achievements that you can get in situations like this, our priority, Rob, never go backwards. Have you ever had that thing where you have a difficult interaction with somebody and you say something, and now instead of being okay, you both are having tension and you both are really not looking forward to that next meeting, that next weekly meeting or whatever? Don't go backwards. That's the purpose of it. Don't go backwards. So that's a really intense, that's how we start to set those intentions and put them into play. Week 5 is intention and surrender, which is exactly how we started the call, right? I don't want to go into this too much. It can get really confusing, but there's this beautiful, beautiful tradition in the Zen Buddhist tradition where they have koans. And the most sort of well-known one is, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And the idea behind a koan is that your teacher gives you a problem to solve, but there's no answer to it. But yet it's still wrong to do nothing. And when I learned about that, like, all I saw was business. Like, that's what I saw life is, that in business, that's all you do is try to pick between the least damaging of really difficult situations. Like, you go back to the interest rates going up. What the hell do I do now? And this is how we find that space inside us to surrender to reality. And we're going to do some exercises to kind of make that work. And, one of the things that occurred to me was that in this world, we don't need koans because life is our koan. Life is God made visible. Life is the sandpaper that refines us. And that's how we're going to look at this. Like, the problems that come up in life are actually to our benefit. They're a learning, they're a diagnostic. They help us to see where we need to do our work. So week 5 is really valuable because we're taking mindfulness and intention and putting it into real life situations where it really helps, where it really is practical knowledge. My deepest desire is that everybody gets a sense of what I call practical intuition. And it's that sense when you don't know logistically, you can't look at a spreadsheet and solve a problem all the time. As a business person, you need to have intuition that takes all the information that you curate from all your sources, your spreadsheets, and your knowledge of your market and the people that you're dealing with, and that turns into intuition. But that intuition is supported by a quiet place inside you. You can only have that intuition if your mind isn't going crazy with fear, with personal anxiety, with ego. We try to create a quiet space where that personal and practical intuition can help you solve problems in a very real way. So week number 6, the last week, is we're going to just formalize all of this work into a document. And I call it activate your superpowers using monthly and weekly intuition. So you're going to have your master list of your North Star intentions, and we're going to make monthly and weekly intentions. And I've just seen miracles work around this. And it's a way to take the depth and practicality of spirituality and apply it to your life. And one of the things that we're typically focused on when we do that North Star intention setting, that very top level of intention setting, is that we want our family life to be healthy. We want our relationships to be healthy. We want our monetary situations, our financial situations to be healthy. And when we set that as a goal, and then we set these monthly and weekly intentions, that's where that balance comes in, right? There's all this talk about work-life balance and how do you maintain the effort the Olympian level effort that it takes to be an entrepreneur and maintain a family and have children and do the processes that grow us. Like if your business isn't growing, it's dying. But it's important that your family is growing, and it's important that you're the people in your charge, your children, are growing too. How do we balance all that? Well, that's how we make that happen with these intentions. So that's the high points of the 6 weeks, and then we'll do a return to the wisdom diagnostic and just see, did we improve, did we grow, did we learn from this? That's it
I
in an
love it,
extra
man.
large
I
nutshell.
love it. I'm excited for it. It's right around the corner.